So as you can see, we will be talking about wellbeing today with housing. Now this is just one session of part of 11. We will have information available online as well of all of our sessions, but we really appreciate you coming here today, so thank you very much for being present. The great thing about coming in person is that you are able to ask us questions, ask the people who will be presenting questions, and then at the end as well, there's myself, other elected members and many council staff here as well if you have any specific questions to ask us then. So welcome very much to the Wellbeing's role in growth and housing. So over the last couple of weeks leading up to this, we've focused on who we are here in Rotorua, and we started with some of the history, getting us to this point, including a high-level overview of some of the evidence that we've been collecting around this housing crisis and also the growth that we have had here in Rotorua. So just last week we heard from Te Arawa representatives to get a better understanding of the Te Arawa vision and values that underpin their decision making and also ours at the Rotorua Lakes Council. So some of the key messages that we've been experiencing here in Rotorua is that we are dealing with a housing crisis at the moment. That's not just us, it is the country, but evidence shows that here in Rotorua we have had a severe lack of homes, and so Council now is working with urgency to respond to that demand as well. So as Rotorua continues to grow and change, we'll continue to change as well. So we need to be ready, and put simply, when we've got such a crisis, we need to act now too. So our community now has an opportunity to plan for future. That's how we're looking at this. There may be challenges that come up in life, but the best thing is the sooner you start, the better you will be in the long term. So that's what we're doing now. What we're doing as well is planning for the future that enables our city to continue to grow in a way that protects but also enhances the things that we love. That we grow in a way that we can still look at this community and say, this is the Rotorua that we are proud of and that we love. So Rotorua is not going to be a victim of growth. This is really that opportunity. It's one of the key messages that we want to share with you today. So although that housing crisis is universal, we do have some unique challenges here in Rotorua. And those are ones that we're going to need to respond to quite quickly in a way that's suitable, which is why we are working quite closely alongside our partners. So we're in a really good position to be able to act now on the growth that we are experiencing, and also learn from other cities. So it's that act local, but we're thinking global as well. So housing actually has become Council's #1 priority. So do be assured that this is top of mind. We're putting a lot of time, effort and resources into solving this issue for us. So what Council's role actually is to enable and to encourage the growth and the building of partnerships of those who can deliver what our community needs to help our community to thrive. So while we don't build houses at Council, some of the things that we do is that important infrastructure and unlocking land to enable these homes to actually be built and families to live in them. So we can't do this alone. We know that we need to work together to help Rotorua to reach those goals of us and to continue to be a great place to live, to work and to play. So very holistic view that we take as Council to housing. So we want people who love Rotorua to be involved in the plans. So again, thank you for coming along. Please share your feedback. But we also want to build a city that everyone can see themselves in and wants to live in. So it's important that that's reflected, and we are building a city that reflects our community. So we do want to acknowledge the importance of working alongside mana whenua here, Te Arawa iwi, within the rohe of the Rotorua district. So that's really important. We have some great guest speakers here today, but also ensuring that as we plan, we set these goals and we start seeing those outcomes, that those values and principles of Te Arawa also are underpinned in all of our conversations, whether it's around growth, housing, wellbeing, and also importantly, our environment. So if we look at our agenda for today, we're looking at the importance of wellbeing as we develop a Rotorua for tomorrow. So previously councils were only tasked with the job of essentially looking after infrastructure, which is those pipes under the ground, the water in your taps, the roads, all of those sort of practical hard things. But recently the government has also mandated councils through the Local Government Act to now consider social and cultural wellbeing, as long as those economic and environmental that we were already looking at. So very relevant that we have wellbeing and actually talk with our partners. So great that they're here to share about what their goals are as well. So we'll kick off today's session, which is, we've got our guest speaker, Rosemary Viskovic, who will be providing an overview of a holistic approach to our city's future and why wellbeing is important in that context of our growth and our housing here. And then after Rosemary, we will also have Associate Professor Amanda Yates from AUT. And unfortunately, she's not able to be here today, but she's got a video and she'll take us through their Mauri-focused research, which has been completed in urban wellbeing and looking at the outcomes that they're trying to achieve with their research. Some very interesting stuff. So she's provided a video that will play just after Rosemary. And then finally, at the end of today's session, we'll have Jude, Pani, and also Jenny Rini, who will be here from Te Tatu o Te Arawa, talking to their strategic direction and their wellbeing compass on how they are also supporting good urban design here in Rotorua. So first of all, I'd like to hand you over to Rosemary. Now, she's our Director of Thriving Communities at the Rotorua Lakes Council, does some amazing work there. She's an experienced leader with extensive experience in local government and health. So passionate about supporting our communities to thrive through community-led initiatives. So by the community, for the community, please welcome our Director of Thriving Communities, Rosemary.
Kia ora. So I'm Rosemary Viskovic, as you just said. I'm Director of Thriving Communities. I've been a councillor for about 8 years, and my background was in health before that, originally as a nurse. My involvement with the council the last few years has been in climate change planning, but also in development of the housing strategy and in locality planning and in housing task force. My team's involved in locality planning, child equity program, council's grants, and all sorts of things about how council supports communities. We're at the kind of strategy policy side of things, so we're not the doers. We've got other teams within council who actually implement plans and have expertise in that. As mentioned, the wellbeings were reintroduced into the Local Government Act in 2019, so that means that councils are responsible for environmental, social, economic and cultural wellbeing through our work. Wellbeing is a holistic and integrated concept, and you can think about it in terms of individuals, in terms of family groups, or in terms of whole communities. And it's really important to keep those 4 wellbeing values in mind when we're thinking about how we grow communities that will improve our wellbeing in the future. So social wellbeing is about individuals, their families, their whānau, how communities can set goals and achieve them in relation to community networks, their financial stability, personal security, opportunities, rights, freedoms. Economic wellbeing is about whether the local economy can generate the employment and wealth necessary to support our community in their wellbeing. The environmental wellbeing is about whether the natural environment can sustainably support the activities that constitute a healthy community life. That includes things like air quality, good water supply, management of pollution, uncontaminated land. And cultural wellbeing is also really broad. It's about how we have shared beliefs, values, customs, behaviours, identities, and how they're reflected through language, stories, and the arts, ceremonies, and the heritage that we see around us in our community. So there's many ways in which planning and development of homes and surrounding neighbourhoods contributes to wellbeing. He Papa Kāinga He Hapori Torikura, which is our Homes and Thriving Communities strategic framework, was developed by Council along with Te Arawa Whānui, but also using a lot of other agencies in our community. The framework identifies that we need more homes to meet current and future needs, but the quality of these homes and how they're part of communities is what will help people to thrive. It's not just a house. When we were developing the framework, we talked to lots of different communities all around the district, and these concepts came through again and again, sometimes different ways of putting it, but really common things. And it was very much, it's about a home, not a house, and it's about people and whānau. People said to us, no more gated communities or ghettos, and people said it's not about property investment. It's a home is something quite special, and there's a whole lot of other values that are about well-being. It's not just a house. So home is a place of safety, privacy, to sleep, to eat, to recreate, to connect and belong. And it's more than just about creating housing supply. It's how those homes are in quality, livable communities. It's how it's all designed. So one of the key objectives of the housing strategy is about homes being part of well-designed, thriving, connected communities for the future. And we talk about thriving as a kind of a catch-all, meaning well-being in all the different ways in which what that means. For a wider community perspective, urban design infrastructure are really big investments, and they contribute to well-being over a very long period of time. So it's really important to get it right and for it to be flexible and adaptable to how people live in the future and what direction communities will grow. Some of the quality considerations for planning include access to education, work and play, the future of work, whether that's remote and digital, the services people need in proximity to where they live, access to healthcare, how we can reduce crime and victimisation, the quality and access to green spaces, parks and our beautiful natural environment, water quality, and supporting the connection of people through recreation, sport, arts, culture and shared interests. Likewise, physical homes. You build a home and it's there for a blooming long time. It's some of our homes, our community are over 100 years old. There's certainly lots in the 50, but there's periods where our homes have been built and they're there for a very long time, and there's certain styles you'll see. They're a big investment and we have to get it right. And they need to be flexible and adaptable for how people live in the future, not just now, and it's not just one size fits all. We need to think about household composition. We have a growing ageing community, and how most people who age will grow old in the place they live, in their community, and that's where they largely like to be. Increased number of single or small households, but also needing the kinds of facilities that are good for larger extended family living. We need to think about universal access, universal design for accessibility. So that's the way we design buildings, that they don't need to be adapted if somebody needs a wheelchair, they'll be able to roll straight back into their usual home. We also need to think about people's personal choices and preferences. It's not just a uniform stamp it out, this is the standard. We also need to think about affordability, different types of tenure, the materials we use, the size, how we use land. And we also need to think about the use of space. When we have a growing population, we may have a higher density in housing, it means people may have less private space. So the way that we design our public spaces for sharing becomes critically important. Tata Punamu Collective is a collective of groups out on the east side of Rotorua. It consists of hapu, schools, community groups, the Lions, all sorts of people who come together and share a common idea around what's important and for their wellbeing over there. The future impact on how homes are designed, how neighbourhoods and communities are planned is really important to them, and they've come up with Council and with a whole lot of other agencies, including Regional Council, Kāinga, MSD, Education Health, with a community wellness plan. And it's a really comprehensive plan which takes a kind of a physical view of the environment, what's special about that place, and how they'd like it to look in future. Things like how Waikawa Bay is really important, and wetlands, but also things around schooling and routes around the community. Part of the planning we're doing with them is around a community hub. So that's the kind of thing involved in what we call locality planning, around how we work with the community to design how the big picture's going to look. Not just about homes that we're more of, but actually how they're part of the community and how that works. They also think about the effects of climate change, about energy systems and efficiency, neighbourhood planning and transport, resilience to severe rainfall with climate change in the future, and protecting the natural environment. So their plan really reflects the 4 wellbeings really well from that community perspective, and it shows all the different people contributing, and that's on our website if anyone wants to have a look. It's fabulous. And I guess the other aspect that shouldn't be missed is around how homes need to be healthy. And again, we have a lot of older homes. and they built it a number of years ago, so they are not built to the current building standard, which means that people may not have the same amount of insulation, double glazing, types of heating that the building standard requires today. So while existing homes can be retrofitted to manage heating and moisture control, the design of new homes is a real opportunity for those healthy attributes right from the start. Thinking about the materials, design for energy use for heating and cooling, affordability, size and space use. So in conclusion, that's just a real snapshot of some of my thoughts around the wellbeings and how it relates to homes and communities. So I guess the message is really, it's very much about homes and communities. Homes as a place of people and connection, and how that works as a place, as a neighbourhood. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Rosemary. Amanda is very sorry that she couldn't make it here in person. She has been doing a lot of work here in Rotorua with us, but as I mentioned, this is Professor Amanda Yates from AUT. Now she has affiliations to local Ngāti Rangiwewehi, Ngāti Whakaue, and also Te Aitanga a Mahaki and Rongo Whakata. So she works with councils, iwi and communities to explore place-based, Indigenous-led strategies and actions for urban transformation. Very interesting area. So so this is all, her mahi is all in an era of climate and biodiversity emergency. So Amanda is the director of He Puna Wai Papa Ora, which is an emergent ecologies lab, and an urban Mauri Ora, or Wellbeing, research and activation lab. So Amanda is the co-program leader and principal investigator of the Urban Wellbeing Research Program in New Zealand's National Science Challenge, which was about building better homes, towns and cities. So her current research focuses on the city as Puna Ora Living Labs, testing regenerative strategies, for example, local energy and food initiatives, or blue-green urban infrastructures, which she is going to tell us about today. So I hope this plays.
Tēnā koutou katoa. E rere atu nei ngā mihi kia koutou. No Te Arawa ahau, ko Amanda Yates toko ingoa. Kia ora everyone. I'm Amanda. I'm an associate professor at AUT and the leader of a National Science Challenge research program for urban wellbeing. We're doing urban action research for Mauri-centred system change. Particularly, we're exploring strategies, tactics and tools that support the development of ecologically regenerative, zero carbon, connected and circular cities. And what do we mean by Mauri Ora? In our research, Mauri Ora is about holistic wellbeing, social, cultural and ecological. It's about a viable, healthy planet, the well-being of our wider whanaunga, Ranginui, Papatuanuku, Tania, the whole living system. And it's about buildings and cities that are specifically designed to contribute to a thriving social and ecological system. Why are we focusing on holistic urban wellbeing at this time? Well, it's because our planet is in a state of mauri mate, or extreme ill health. We're in a climate emergency at the moment. We're also in a wider ecological emergency, with 75% of the planet's surface and ecosystems degraded. We're in a sixth mass extinction event, all of which together threatens the life support systems of our planet. So what's at stake? A livable future for all is at stake, as the recent sixth report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change states. We can't do business as usual. We need to change our urban systems, and they need to change fast. But change to what? Well, we're exploring Mauri-centred change that brings social, cultural and ecological benefits to protect ourselves from ecological risk and to begin to regenerate the Mauri, the connectivity and the vitality of our ecosystems. We need to transition towards zero carbon energy, local circular bioeconomies, towards city planning for ecosystem regeneration, regenerative buildings and connected communities. when we're looking at new houses, we need to also be considering the larger neighbourhoods and services that are available, including the transport, local food systems and green spaces, and the way these systems are powered. The money and resources that we put into new houses and urban growth from now on needs to strategically provide not only healthy and affordable homes and neighbourhoods, but also an ecologically sustainable, zero carbon energy system for buildings and transport. Our cities need now to be based on a circular bioeconomy that doesn't pollute and deplete the planetary life system. We need to be regenerating degraded ecosystems, and our built environments need to be designed to include living systems like green roofs, rainwater gardens and swales that help with urban cooling, decrease flooding events and increase local biodiversity. There are multiple benefits that come from this kind of approach, including for people. Our well-being and concentration increases. Our stress levels decrease when exposed to nature. So what might urban Māori order look like in our neighbourhoods? A transition towards ecological regeneration means a city that's actively regenerating its local ecosystems, that's planting urban ngahere or forests and using other green or blue infrastructures like wetlands and rain gardens to help cool the city or reduce its exposure to flooding from increasingly severe storm events. Having urban food commons and suburban community gardens helps to build social connection and also returns the urban landscape to a state of manaakitanga, of generosity in local production of resource. A transition from carbon polluting fossil fuels to zero carbon energy for our buildings, industry and for our vehicles will bring advantages in reduced planet heating carbon pollution and also in local air pollution, a major public health issue. Locally generated energy is good for our economic and our energy security. And if we can generate energy from solar panels on our roofs, we can have agency over our own energy, charging our homes and our vehicle or returning power to the larger national grid. A further key transition is towards a circular bioeconomy that is designed for the closed-loop planet that we live on. Locally produced biomaterials can sustain a regional economy. Para kore, or zero waste initiatives, can help to reduce the global scourge of microplastic pollution as we transition towards materials that are either able to compost in the environment or towards materials that remain enclosed within managed technical loops. And our buildings and our neighbourhoods are beginning to change as we incorporate more living systems into them via green roofs or swales or rain gardens, and use more non-toxic and renewable built biomaterials that are carbon neutral or even carbon storing. Our buildings can become power stations that generate zero carbon energy, and our neighbourhoods can share energy in district schemes. By incorporating community gardens or papa kāinga and co-housing buildings into our neighbourhoods, we can start to increase social connection and community, addressing extreme rates of loneliness that are endemic across most of the Western world. And a further key focus for a Māori-centred city that is growing and building new neighbourhoods is to adopt an urban or suburban 15-minute village strategy that allows for key amenities to be accessible by a quick walk or bike ride. As we come to live and work more locally in our villages, using active transport strategies or taking short local trips, there's less need for the sometimes hours-long commutes that was the norm for many of us pre-COVID. Again, any fuel transport needs to now be rapidly transitioned to zero carbon fuel, whether electricity or other renewables. And as always, the transition needs to be just. Free public transport is another strategy for urban manaakitanga, for a city that's structured around Māori order. All these changes seem complex, but at the core, it's simply about making sure in an ecological emergency that our actions and our new houses and neighbourhoods bring Mauri ora, holistic, social, cultural and ecological well-being. In our National Science Challenge research, we have an urban wellbeing compass kit of parts that communities can use to define their own directions for Mauri ora in a way that's simple and makes sense. The compass is a circular to-do list of pragmatic actions for urban system change. It's a navigator towards Mauri-centred neighbourhoods and cities. And it's a collaboration tool for communities that are keen to improve local urban wellbeing. Over the last few years, we've been lucky enough to work with Te Tātou o Te Arawa to develop a housing level compass as a tool for Mauri ora for increasing social, cultural and ecological wellbeing. This coming year, we'll be talking with Te Tātou o Te Arawa and other communities to see what urban Mauri ora means to them, so we can collectively add an urban layer to the wellbeing compass. I'll leave it here now. Thanks for your time. Kia ora mai tātou, Mauri ora.
Amanda is really keen to hear it. If you have any questions, then please just let me or one of the other staff members know, and we'll make sure that we pass that on to her and she will get back to you. But as you can see, what's really awesome about this is no longer are these just aspirational goals. We actually have these changes happening now, and not only do they have environmental benefits, but also that wider holistic benefits of economic, social and cultural too. If we move to our final presenters for today, we have Te Tātou o Te Arawa's Chief Executive Jude, Pani, and also Jenny Leni here to speak on their housing development wellbeing compass. So this is the Te Arawa local model for housing. So Te Tātou have been working really closely with Amanda over the past 18 months, bringing her research to life. So I'll hand you over to Jude, Pani.
Kia ora tātou. Ko Jude Pani Takawingoa. I am the Chief Executive or the Mana Hautu of Te Tātou o Te Arawa. And thank you for the opportunity today, and thank you for coming, and thank you for the pātai. I was sort of hiding behind the shield there, but for the lady that raised the questions. And they are the conversations we need that's healthy. And our friend who raised the issues of the rebuild, coming from Christchurch, I know exactly what he's talking about, and it's about development, sustainability and a foundation for the future. So yeah, I'm Jude. I lead the operations along with Jenny, who's in our small little team for Te Tātou o Te Arawa. We've got a board of 14 governors mandated by Te Arawa, and I'm very proud to stand here today to speak about housing development wellbeing compass, linking through to a Te Arawa model of housing. And a little bit about me, long career in local government, working at all levels and across from corporate to community engagement, community advocacy, at the regional, community board, district, city level, and now I've landed with Te Arawa in the Te Arawa partner working with local government. So yeah, and from Christchurch, from Otatahi, and my whānau whakapapa into Te Arawa, to Murupara, to Rakaipaka. So yeah, it's good to be here today. So today, what Jenny and I are going to do, and Jenny will respond to any pātai. Jenny's been real hands-on at the nitty-gritty, working on the detail of the wellbeing compass, is about trying to, I suppose, trying to take the research and work with it at a workable local level and a neighbourhood level. So that's. And of course, everything Te Tātou does is all connected to the Te Arawa vision. So our Te Tātou o Te Arawa's work program is all linked to the Te Arawa vision. and the strategic directions that have been identified for Te Arawa in the Te Arawa vision. And last week, if you were here, our chairman, Te Taru White, spoke to you about the vision, spoke about the development of the vision, spoke about the history, the whakapapa, where it came from. And this is the people's, this is Te Arawa's, this is not Te Tato's. This is a Te Arawa vision that I'm very proud to speak about today, and of course is the cornerstone of everything we lay our hand to. So that's just a little bit of the background, and for this kaupapa, for this Te Arawa model of housing, it sits very squarely in the strategic direction of Te Arawa tangata. So this is about the people, and our friend talked earlier about impacts on people, on families. This is what Te Arawa identified as a priority. And Te Arawa did work with Council and Rosemary and the team at Council around the development, and I always have to look it up because I forget it, the development of the Homes and Thriving Community Strategic Framework. So Te Tato was part of that, and Te Arawa definitely was part of that. But Te Tato felt that the fundamental considerations of that framework can be extended upon and implemented across our rohi, and we can add more value to the current housing challenges facing our region by focusing on detailed models and action that advance Te Arawa housing and Papa Kāinga aspirations from a Māori to Māori Ora basis. So with that in mind, housing model directed by Te Arawa priorities, not a council-driven priority, this is Te Arawa priorities. So that's what Te Tato incorporated, and it's very busy. I'm sorry, some of these slides are very busy, and that Wellbeing Compass is very busy. But this is what Te Tato incorporated into our work plan, and this is the work plan that Jenny and I lead out along with another couple of support people. And you'll see that the Te Arawa model for housing is in the top line there. So that's what Te Arawa wanted. They wanted a model of housing that was based on mātauranga Māori and looked to the future. And our friend raised earlier about the growth of the city and the future. And so that's our basis for entering this kaupapa, for turning our hand to it, is what Te Arawa asked us to do. And this is the work plan that Te Tato had identified earlier on. And what we've been doing as an organisation is been collaborating with the universities. So it's about what research is happening, what academic rigour is being applied across the universities. So Te Tato engaged about 18 months ago with Amanda Yates and the team from Auckland University. And we had, just bearing in mind, we had this work stream that we had to deliver on, and there's a lot of noise in the housing space, you know, emergency housing, a lot of activity going on, but Te Tato took the approach that actually Te Arawa's going to be here for a long time. So we took the view that there's a lot of people working in the immediate, in the noise, that we would focus on a strategic medium to long-term approach to housing and a Te Arawa model of housing. So we had this work program, this work program we had to deliver on, and then we were working collaboratively with Auckland University on this Wellbeing Compass. And when it first came to Jenny and me and the team, we thought, this is complicated. There's a lot of words here, and we were looking up our dictionary every minute. What does that mean? What does that look like? How does that relate to me? How does someone connect to that? How does that family understand that? But we thought there's something here. There is something here. As a planet, we can't keep doing what we're doing. Something has to change, and for Te Arawa, they were wanting a model that delivered on Mātauranga Māori that was underpinned by Te Arawa values. So we jumped on this waka. We reprogrammed our priorities, and we worked really intensively with this wellbeing compass. And I must say, Jenny has done a lot of work on this with Amanda, changing the narrative, testing it with some hapu, testing it with whānau. Does this resonate? And so the collaboration and the partnership with the university was important for us to bring that research and that rigour in, but more importantly for us was testing this with hapu, with whānau, to see if it can work, and then working up some case studies. So we've got some whenua that are ready to go to test this. How does it work? How can we do a papa kāinga development? How does that work for you as a trust? So I won't go into all the detail of the wellbeing compass because Amanda did cover it in quite some detail, but needless to say, it has changed considerably from when we first saw it. And it's been tested with hapu, and they think yes, but we've still got to roll it out and get the mandate of Te Arawa. So this is a little premature for us, I think, this presentation today, because we would want to take it to the people first and get the tick before we present it in this public forum. So I think this is what success looks like, and there's no way I'm going to read that out and read it if you've got the patience and the time and interest. But what I would say is that this is about environmental, it's about the people, it's about the cultural well-being. So that success looks like. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's the well-being of the environment, of the people and the culture. And I just want to finish on this slide. I talked about a Te Arawa model of housing, and the wellbeing compass is definitely what Te Tatau wants to test, wants to refine, wants to see what works, what doesn't over the next year or so. But I wanted to put up there what Te Tatau has as its strategic plan for a Te Arawa model of housing. And I'll and some of these we're leading, some of them we're supporting, others we're partnering, but it's just identifying the various elements that Te Tatau has identified as a Te Arawa model for housing. And I'll just start from the top. And this is, of course, working with our colleagues at Council, getting the urban development underpinned by this Te Arawa Mātauranga Māori wellbeing, so having it underpinning urban development. Papa Kāinga, that's what I mentioned. We'll be rolling out 4 case studies to really test this wellbeing compass in a live situation. The next one is something Te Tatau is also intending to lead out, and that is mapping all the aspirations of Te Arawa. What do the various whenua Māori trusts want? What's the future? What's the future for your whenua, for your people, for your land? And as I mentioned earlier, it's a long-term thing. It's not a quick build a house, get a whānau in it. This is about the future. So mapping that. The next one is a community housing provider, and we're certainly interested in that space, and we'll work as a quiet enabler when the time's right. Down the bottom, this is employment for our people, and there are several initiatives that are bubbling away at the moment that will bring employment to our people. And again, if you can think of all of these streams of work underpinned by wellbeings, by the wellbeing compass. The next one is home ownership program, and there are various providers working in that space now, helping whānau, helping individuals get into the home ownership home ownership ranks. The next one is the Te Arawa Bank. It's about financing, and that's certainly, I think there's a hui on Saturday to progress the thinking around that, and that's not far off actually, being real. And the last one, of course, is partnerships, and we cannot deliver and do anything by ourselves. It's always together and collectively we can achieve what we can. So that is a very simple sort of strategy, Te Arawa model for housing, somewhere leading, somewhere partnering, somewhere supporting others to lead out that space. So yeah, kia ora tātou, that's my preso for today. So happy to take any pārtai, and Jenny's with me too, if anyone has any questions.
Jude will still be around if you do want to go and ask him any more questions. We do have a number of other sessions that are coming up. Towards the end, we also will discuss alternative housing and ownership models, and then also look at some examples of how mana whenua have practically built on their own land as well in their papa Kāinga. So, and we do have some other examples coming up on how you can actually get the things in action and going. So, but our next session is going to focus on our changing climate. So that will be same place, same time, here at 1 p.m. on the 1st of June, and we'll look at how we're planning and preparing for the impacts of climate change through urban development, and also our Rotorua Climate Action Plan of the Council. So we'll have Pani Regional Council here then to outline that plan, also look at how we're considering natural hazards like flooding, and also sustainable transport and emission reduction options. So that's our next one. But like I said, all of these are being recorded. They'll be put up on our council website, and have a look at the different sessions if there are other things that will interest you. But thank you very much for coming along. We appreciate it so very much. We will stick around if you have any more questions. We also have other elected members, Councillor Fisher Wang, Councillor Kai Fong, and also our chairperson of the Rural Community Board, Shirley Trumper, and our chairperson of the Lakes Community Board, Phil Thomas. So a lot of people here if you want to continue to stick around and ask questions. So I'll close off this session with our karakia. Kia whakairi ai te tapu, kia wāti ai te ara, kia tūriki whakataha ai, kia tūriki whakataha ai, haumi e, hui e, tae ki e.